What the hell are we doing with the Transformers franchise? I have never seen an intellectual property have so much potential simply squander it all. Now, I enjoy Transformers 1 and 3. I think they're both good action films. And I can forgive Revenge of the Fallen for being kinda mid. There's some great action in it. Does it feel like an 11-year-old wrote the script? Yeah, it does. But 2014 was the beginning of the end. Age of Extinction was horrible. I don't care if Lockdown was decently cool. The movie is garbanzo beans. And the only saving grace is that it somehow manages to be way better than its sequel. And I'm not even gonna waste my breath on trashing The Last Night. If you've seen it, you know. Now, Bumblebee is where I think we really lost all hope of ever seeing this film franchise truly thrive again. And I know that sounds weird because Bumblebee is one of the better Transformers films. Hell, I know a few people who think it's the best. But here's the issue with Bumblebee. It was a reboot that didn't reboot a damn thing. Bumblebee went from a funny jokester who was mute to a funny jokester who was mute. The Transformers went from being on Earth to being on Earth. The US military went from being inept and kinda dumb to being inept and kinda dumb. I mean, how does Bumblebee reset anything? We had the chance to shake things up and do something new, focus on new characters, or at the very least make these new iterations of popular characters different in some way. So why is Bumblebee still mute? Why? We haven't had enough gags with him adjusting the radio? Simply changing the time period in which the movie is set was not enough. And don't get me wrong, I like Bumblebee. It was an enjoyable movie, but I do think it was a temporary fix. The movie was essentially Flex Seal for the franchise. It gave temporary success, but didn't fix any of the franchise's underlying issues. The studio was too conflicted with whether or not to make this a complete reboot or just a prequel. And this created a Frankenstein's monster. Bumblebee is the same exact character, so it makes sense for it to be a prequel, but timeline and lore-wise, that would make no sense after Rise of the Beasts. So color me confused, and I can tell I'm not the only person confused, judging by what the studio has lined up for us. Transformers 1 is an animated film targeting 11-year-olds, which is fine, I guess, and hey, maybe it'll be a lot of fun when it comes out next week, and viewers from the future can comment about how wrong I am. I would love that. But if we're throwing a Hollywood budget behind an animated Transformers film, why couldn't it be an X-Men 97-esque animation that takes the G1 show and modernizes the style of it? We could still do a prequel set on Cybertron, but why not make a movie that could appeal to kids and adults? Transformers 1 is not going to hit for people who grew up watching the G1 show. I can tell you that right now. So you're isolating your hardcore audience for absolutely no reason. Embrace them. They've been here since day one. But perhaps even more egregiously, we're getting a live-action Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover. Wait, what's that? What'd you say? Oh, that's a dumb decision? Yeah, no shit. Listen to me when I say this. There has never been a good G.I. Joe film. Not one. Never has a G.I. Joe movie hit theaters to thunderous applause. It is a dead film property. So why are we trying to revive Transformers with it? What are you doing? I saw Transformers Rise of the Beasts opening weekend in a very vocal crowd, and when we got to the G.I. Joe reveal, you could hear a pin drop in the theater. No reaction whatsoever. In fact, I think I heard a groan or two. Who is getting excited about a G.I. Joe film in 2024? And this, in all honesty, gets to the heart of what I think the studio's biggest issue is. They copy other film franchises more than their own IP. Like, we're really looking at the Godzilla and Kong mashup films for inspiration now? While the MonsterVerse movies make decent profits, just enough to keep churning out Godzilla and King Kong movies, this shouldn't be the goal for Transformers. This franchise has crossed the $1 billion mark at the box office before, and at one point had fans really invested. We can do better than convoluted team-up movies that nobody asked for. And as goofy as the Godzilla and King Kong movies are, at least they're both giant kaiju, so it kinda makes sense on a visual level at least. Like, are you telling me Snake Eyes is about to start squaring up with Optimus Prime or some shit? I'm not here for this movie, and I don't think most fans are in all honesty. So again, I must ask, why are we doing this? At this point you might be asking, well-screened stories, you just ranted about this franchise for a few minutes, what direction would you take it in? And I would have personally made a loose adaptation of the War for Cybertron video game. I know there's an animated series on Netflix that kinda did this, but why do we waste this idea on that? I would love to see a live-action prequel set on Cybertron with nothing but Transformers. We got like 5 minutes of the Cybertron war in Bumblebee, and it was easily the best part of that movie. So I think an entire film based around this general concept could be great. If you want to have a complete fresh start though, we could maybe set it a few generations in the past, maybe tell a Knights of the Republic style story about the early days of the Transformers on Cybertron. The big thing for me is finally exploring Cybertron in live action. Like, we've technically seen it in movies, but we've never spent meaningful time on it. But that's just my take on things. If you made it this far, well, I hope you enjoyed the rant. I've been a confused fan when it comes to this franchise for many years. I think we've objectively only gotten one good film from this property in the past decade or so, and I just know it's capable of more. There's been great comic runs, great television series, and great animated films, so I just hope this starts to translate into their live action films. But if you agree, disagree, or just have general thoughts on my massive rant, as always, I'd love to hear you in the comments. Until next time, peace.